Welcome back to CryptosRus. My name is Aaron. I am your resident DeFi guy, and today I'd like to get into my favorite chains. All of these chains are going to be EVM compatible or Ethereum virtual machine compatible, which makes them available to be tracked on DeFi Llama, and you'll be able to transfer Ethereum to them. Though all of them are compatible with Ethereum, not all of them burn Ethereum, so we'll talk about that, but I want to rank them from S tier down to F tier, and let's get on into it. If you've watched any of my videos before, I like to start in DeFi Llama as it gives us a lot of information on Ethereum compatible or EVM compatible chains. I'm going to go through these in a little bit in TVL just to get started as a ranking system. And then I'd like to get into the specifics of each chain, talk about volume a little bit, but also talk about DeFi in particular. And because I've named my channel All Things Ethereum and my Twitter channel as well, I like to focus on the chains that burn Ethereum. So let's get on into it. If you go to DeFi Llama and then open up this DeFi tab here, you can go to chains, and this here graphic will load, and you can see all of the chains that DeFi Llama tracks that are EVM compatible or Ethereum virtual machine compatible are going to show up here. I'd like to specifically talk about chains that use Ethereum, but I will go through each of these, especially the top 9 or 10, just to talk about the history behind them quickly and what they're good for. So Ethereum obviously is the backbone of Ethereum virtual machine DeFi, right? You get the best NFTs, you get the best DeFi protocols, you get the best of Web3 currently on Ethereum because it is the smart contract chain. BTC maxis out there. I love BTC for the store of value, but you miss out on the smart contract ecosystem on the Bitcoin chain that you have on Ethereum chain. So we're going to talk about that in particular because this is DeFi specific. So Ethereum has $25 billion in TVL, that's total value locked, and 24-hour volume is $1.21 billion. This obviously outdoes any other chain, but the drawbacks of Ethereum is that gas prices are high and transaction times are a little bit slower than other chains, in particular layer 2s of Ethereum. Ethereum chain is the most decentralized blockchain besides that of Bitcoin, so it is the most secure in the DeFi space, so it has that advantage. But again, the block times are a little bit slower, transactions per second are a little bit slower, and again, gas prices are the most expensive. So let's jump into my graphic here. I do have all of the logos that I specifically want to talk about, and I'm going to drop Ethereum right at the tops here. It is the highest in TVL, has the highest volume, has the most security out of all of the DeFi chains, and I think it is absolutely the top dog, especially when it comes to just sheer volume and sheer numbers. Because it's been around so long and has such great security, it's the easiest for institutions and retail investors to get on-ramped and off-ramped from. All right, so let's get back to the list in DeFi Llama. Tron, I'm not going to talk about too much, even though it's got the second highest TVL. As far as 24-hour volume goes, it is in the lower end of the top 10, so I'm going to skip over that one. I do feel like it doesn't have a lot of DeFi. It is known more as a gambling and entertainment chain, so I'm going to skip over it as I don't think it has a great value for us as DeFiers. Now, next on the list for TVL at least is the Binance Smart Chain or BSC. Sometimes this is called the BNB chain because that is the native token on the Binance Smart Chain. It is not Ethereum. It does not burn Ethereum like most of these other chains that I'm going to talk about. However, it is the third largest TVL, and it does do a significant amount of volume on a 24-hour basis, although Arbitrum has caught up and often on a daily basis does do more volume in dollars than the Binance Smart Chain does. On the Binance Smart Chain, you found dApps like PancakeSwap, and it was one of the bigger chains during the last bull run as well, along with Avalanche and and Fantom, which has dropped significantly. And I'll get to why that is in a couple minutes here, but let me get back to the top list. So Binance Smart Chain, I'm going to put it in A tier. I do think that it could be, in the future could be S tier, but there is a lot of FUD because it's so closely related to Binance, and it does have less decentralization than most of the chains on our list. It does have great value as a DeFi chain. However, because it's less decentralized, I'm going to bring it from S down to A tier. Arbitrum is my favorite chain right now, so I'm going to put it in S tier, but let me tell you why. It's got the security of Ethereum because it's an optimistic rollup built on Ethereum. It also burns Ethereum, so Ethereum is the native token that it uses for gas. And it's got a growing and thriving ecosystem as far as DeFi goes. And behind Ethereum, Arbitrum has the highest 24-hour volume denominated in dollars. So I'm going to put that in S tier for sure. If you haven't watched any of my videos on Arbitrum, go ahead and follow me at All Things ETH, or check out some of the other videos I've made for CryptosRus. About Arbitrum in particular. I've talked about GMX, I've talked about GMX's GLP, and I've talked about some other DeFi dApps on Arbitrum. It's also got lower gas fees and faster transaction times in comparison to Ethereum. Because of this, a lot of retail DeFi users are moving away from Ethereum and moving on to Arbitrum. Now, next up is the Polygon chain. Polygon is probably the most user-friendly of all the chains. It's got fast transaction times, really low gas fees, in fact, lower than any other chain that I've found so far. However, it's not getting the adoption from a retail perspective or a DeFi perspective that Arbitrum is. Polygon has made a lot of partnerships in the NFT space with large corporations, Nike, and so forth. I do think people in the DeFi space are a little hesitant to build on it because of these centralized businesses coming on and making partnerships. So Arbitrum seems to be the place for more decentralized minded people. Because of all the reasons that I've just stated, I am going to put Polygon in the B tier. Now it is a great chain, guys. It's doing well and has a lot of dApps. Although it's got low gas fees and great speed, it isn't attracting the same caliber of DeFi dApps, and this is why I'm going to put it in B tier. Up next, we have the Optimism chain, and Optimism really had a great run before Arbitrum became the leader in the layer 2 space. Now, I am going to put Optimism in A tier because it's built on Ethereum. It's got great security. Again, it's very similar. It's an optimistic rollup just like Arbitrum. It's got low gas fees and great transaction times. In fact, the user experience is very similar to that of Arbitrum. A lot of people in the DeFi space have called the Optimism chain the incentive chain, where the OP token and many other tokens of the DeFi dApps in that space have been used to attract TVL, but it's also diluted a lot of the value in those tokens in particular, and Arbitrum hasn't done this quite as much. And so I think Optimism has lost a little bit of its sparkle because of this. And many of the great dApps that were built on Ethereum and Avalanche and Fantom and BSC have skipped over Optimism and moved straight to Arbitrum. So I'm going to put this in A tier because I do think the user experience is great. There are some great DeFi dApps on the Optimism platform. Now, you will find some great dApps that have made it onto the Optimism platform that haven't gotten to Arbitrum, and that's because they've been around a little bit longer. Big names like Frax and Synthetics that are both on Ethereum and Optimism aren't yet on the Arbitrum chain, so do check it out, and that's why I think the Optimism chain is A tier. Next on the list, we have Avalanche, and Avalanche was one of the largest ecosystems in the previous bull market, but like Optimism in relation to Arbitrum has lost some of its sparkle. Now, because of this, I'm going to put it in the B tier, and I know I'm going to get flack from this from a couple people. Because Avalanche has lost a lot of its TVL to Arbitrum and Optimism, I'm going to put it in B tier. Another thing that makes this B tier, guys, is that you need to burn the AVAX token. One thing that I forgot to mention about Polygon as well, Polygon uses its own Matic token as its gas token. And I think that any chain that's not using Ethereum as its native gas token is going to struggle in relation to, especially in DeFi, in relation to that of Ethereum, Optimism, and Arbitrum. All right, next on the list is Mixin. It has grown very fast in the last couple months, but it does not burn Ethereum, and there's not a lot of DeFi native people that are using it in my experience, so I'm going to skip over that. Cronos is another chain that did well in the previous bull market, but does not have a ton of DeFi on it that I'm aware of. Now, I will talk about Pulse real quick. Pulse is interesting. If you know anything about Pulse and Richard Hart, its founder, I'm gonna get a lot of heat from the Pulse and Hex world here. I've got to put Pulse as a personal conviction here in the F tier. I do not think that it's going to live on very much longer. In fact, if Pulse does stick around, I think it's because of the cult following of the Hexicans that did put so much money, so much of their hard earned stress and dollars into this chain. PulseChain was probably the most recent chain to come online and onto mainnet, but I do think it's losing value very, very quickly. And in my opinion, it's something to be avoided. All right, next up on the list, I'm going to skip Solana. Solana is a DeFi chain, but it does not burn Ethereum. Now Kava is interesting. There is a lot of DeFi going on there, but TVL is not great. I'd like to skip to ZK Sync Era. I think ZK Sync Era as a chain is going to do very well. There is a multitude of stables being moved onto ZK Sync Era right now. I do think it's going to be one of the hottest chains in the next bull market. There's a lot of traffic on ZK Sync Era right now because a lot of people are trying to farm a potential airdrop. There was a huge airdrop in the Arbitrum ecosystem. There was a huge airdrop in the Optimism chain when their native tokens dropped, guys. The Optimism token and Arbitrum token made people so much money. In fact, I have personally made thousands of dollars in these ecosystems in airdrops, and I am personally farming the airdrop of ZK Sync Era as well, and I think you should be as well. I've made a video, in fact, a couple weeks ago, I made a video on this very topic, how to get into these chains and make traffic and potentially get some airdrop tokens sent to your wallet because of your traffic that you're making. So get out there, try these new chains. In fact, Starknet is very similar, guys. Now, Starknet's a little bit different. You do have to use a different wallet. Almost all of the chains that I'm going to mention today are compatible with wallets like Aurochs, MetaMask, and Rabby. Now, you are going to have to use a different wallet for a couple of these chains, specifically Starknet and Ronin, which I'll get to in a second. So I'm going to put ZK Era up at B tier. I do think it has the potential to rise up in ranks. And because the gas token on this is Ethereum, so you are burning Ethereum with every transaction that you do on ZK Sync Era. The reason why I don't put it in A tier is because of the potential risks there. It's the Wild West on this chain, guys. There are a lot of very new protocols. Some of them are very suspect. A couple of the dApps on this chain have pulled all liquidity and stolen it, guys. So be careful out there. Do your due diligence, do your own research, and be careful when airdrop farming in particular. These new chains do have a potential to have a higher risk element involved. Because Starknet does require you to use a different wallet, I am going to put it in C tier. I do think it has potential, guys, and it does burn Ethereum like ZK Sync Era and Optimism, Arbitrum, and Ethereum. So it does have the potential to rise up just like ZK Era does as well. But because it's really Wild West right now, I'm going to put ZK Sync Era at B tier and Starknet at C tier. Now let's get back to DeFi Llama a couple more times here. Fantom is the next up as far as TVL goes. TVL on Fantom has dropped precipitously. In fact, it's done so in the last 48 hours. There was a bridge exploit on Fantom, and this has been an unfortunate common occurrence with the Fantom network. Fantom was the go-to DeFi chain for a lot of degens, and unfortunately it has had a lot of setbacks. So I'm going to put this in D tier right now, and this is only because of recent exploits, guys. Fantom was up maybe C and B tier. It does require you to use Fantom as, or FTM as the gas token. So I wasn't going to put it in A and S tier anyway, but because of the exploit recently, I have to put it in D tier. The last three chains I'm going to talk about here are much lower on as far as TVL goes, but I do have to give some love to the Ronin chain. Now, the Ronin chain was specifically built for the play-to-earn game Axie Infinity and did a lot of traffic in the last bull run. Now, Axie Infinity and its ecosystem has lost a lot of steam with the bear market that we've seen over the last couple years. So it is one of those chains that I'm looking forward to seeing how it does in the next bull run. Besides Gala, it has the highest TVL of all of the play-to-earn ecosystems, guys. Now, Ron is the gas token on this, so you're not burning Ethereum, but you can pool Ron against Ethereum. You can pool AXS in this chain as well. You can stake AXS and Ron on this chain. I think it's got some great DeFi elements, and I do think it has potential in the next bull run. So I am going to put it in D tier right now, just because it has lost so much of its steam. And I did want to mention before I move on that this was originally built on the Ethereum chain. So it is a Ethereum fork similar to that of the Binance Smart Chain. So there's a lot of similarities between it and side chains like Polygon and Binance Smart Chain. Now, last but not least, I do have to mention these last couple chains, Kava and Metis. Now, Kava and Metis are making some traction in the DeFi space in particular, so I do want to mention those guys. I do think they are currently in the C tier. Similar to Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, and Polygon, they have a lot of DeFi going on these chains. And I have to mention that Ethereum is used on these chains as a store of value and a DeFi token, and that's why they've made it onto this list. And some of the S tier yield farmers in the space are using the Kava and Metis chains currently to create some great yield for their portfolios. With that, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much to George and the CryptosRus team for giving me a chance to share DeFi with this audience. I'm so grateful to be part of the team, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.